The Ottoman Empire, one of history's greatest powers, began with a handful of nomads on the wild frontiers of Anatolia. Before the palaces and armies, there was only a small tribe searching for a home as old empires crumbled around them. In the late 13th century, Anatolia was a crossroads of chaos and opportunity, where power was up for grabs. The Ottomans' rise is a story of ambition, vision, and seizing the moment. Their journey from obscurity to global superpower shows how leadership and faith can change the world. Our story begins not in a grand city, but on the dusty plains of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, where empires met and shattered. Here, amid conflict and uncertainty, the seeds of empire were planted. The world was in flux. Mighty empires had fallen, leaving a vacuum. Into this void stepped the Kayu tribe, led by Ertugrul and his son Osman. They turned desperation into opportunity, forging a new path on the edge of the known world. This isn't just a tale of conquest, it's about building something new from the ashes of the old. We'll explore the harsh landscape that shaped these early warriors and meet the men who led them. From humble beginnings, they would lay the foundation for an empire that would last 6 centuries. Let's journey back to where it all began. To understand the Ottomans' rise, we must look at Anatolia in 1299. A land in turmoil. The once mighty Seljuk Sultanate of Rum had been shattered by Mongol invasions, leaving behind a patchwork of rival Turkish beyliks. The Byzantine Empire, too, was a shadow of its former self, weakened by internal strife and losing its grip on Anatolia. This created a volatile frontier where Christian Byzantines and ambitious Turkic Muslims clashed. Amid constant warfare, towns and fortresses changed hands and life was perilous. Yet, for the bold, chaos meant opportunity. A skilled leader could carve out territory and dream of something greater. Into this world came the K tribe. Oghuz Turks pushed west by the Mongols, seeking new pastures and a place to settle. Led by Ertugrul, they became frontier guards for the weakened Seljuks, stationed near Soğut on the Byzantine border. It was a dangerous posting, but also a chance to prove themselves. Here, surrounded by enemies and uncertainty, the Ottomans began their ascent. The K's position at the crossroads of empires gave them unique opportunities for expansion. They learned to navigate shifting alliances and seize moments of weakness. The stage was set for a new power to emerge from the chaos. The Ottomans would soon transform from a minor tribe into a force that would reshape the region. Their story is one of survival, adaptation, and relentless ambition. In this crucible, the foundations of empire were laid. After Ertugrul's death, leadership passed to his son, Osman, destined to become the founder of the Ottoman dynasty. Osman inherited a small, vulnerable territory surrounded by rivals and threats. Where others saw danger, Osman saw opportunity. He envisioned a new power rising from the ruins of Byzantium and the fractured Turkish states. Osman's legendary dream, a tree growing from his chest, its branches covering the world, symbolized his ambition to build an empire. He was more than a tribal chief. He was a visionary state builder. Osman's charisma and strategic mind attracted warriors and followers from across the frontier. He knew he needed more than just his tribe. He needed a cause to unite people. Osman transformed his band of nomads into a disciplined fighting force, using guerrilla tactics and patience to outmaneuver larger foes. He picked his battles carefully, striking at weak points and avoiding direct confrontation with stronger enemies. His leadership inspired loyalty and courage, convincing others to risk everything for his vision. Osman's rise was not inevitable. It was the result of bold decisions and relentless drive. He turned adversity into advantage, laying the groundwork for a new state. Under his command, the Ottomans began their transformation from a tribe to a principality. The dream of empire was no longer just a vision, it was becoming reality. Osman's vision needed an army, and he found it in the Ghazi warriors, fighters for the Islamic faith drawn to the frontier. These men, united by zeal and the promise of glory, flocked to Osman's banner. Unlike other beyliks, Osman focused his energy on fighting the Byzantines, giving his followers a clear purpose. His reputation as a pious and successful leader spread, attracting even more warriors. The early Ottoman army was a brotherhood, light cavalry, skilled in raids and ambushes, striking quickly and vanishing before the Byzantines could respond. Their relentless attacks wore down Byzantine defenses in Bithynia. A turning point came at the Battle of Baphius in 1302, where Osman's forces defeated a regular Byzantine army. This victory boosted Osman's prestige and drew even more Ghazis to his cause. The Ottomans' military identity was forged in these frontier battles, a mix of faith, ambition, and tactical brilliance. Osman's army was more than a collection of fighters, it was a movement, united by a shared vision. The Ghazi spirit became the cornerstone of early Ottoman power. Through faith and force, Osman's followers transformed from raiders into the builders of a new state. The Ottomans were now a force to be reckoned with. With each victory, Osman's territory expanded from a small patch around Sout into a growing beylik. He was no longer just a tribal chief, he became a ruler of diverse peoples: Turks, Greeks, Christians, and Muslims. Governing these new lands required more than military skill. Osman had to establish law, order, and administration. The Ottomans gained a reputation for pragmatism and tolerance, allowing conquered Christians to keep their faith in exchange for taxes. This approach encouraged towns to surrender peacefully, easing expansion. Osman attracted not only warriors but also scholars, merchants, and administrators. He laid the foundations for institutions that would define the empire, appointing governors, judges, and building a functioning administration. By the end of his reign, Osman had transformed a tribe into a dynamic regional power, surrounding the key Byzantine city of Bursa. His military machine, fueled by Ghazi ideology, was now matched by the beginnings of a real government. Osman's vision and leadership set the stage for the next generation. His son, Orhan, would inherit a strong foundation and take the Ottoman project even further. The dream of empire was now firmly rooted. Bursa, the jewel of Byzantine Bithynia, became the ultimate prize for Osman and his successors. After years of patient siege and blockade, the city finally surrendered in 1326. Osman, gravely ill, died just as his dream was realized, but his son Orhan claimed the city. The conquest of Bursa was a turning point. The Ottomans now had a real capital, not just a patch of frontier land. Orhan made Bursa the heart of his realm, transforming it into a center of administration, commerce, and culture. He converted churches into mosques, built schools and public baths, and established the first Ottoman mint. Striking coins in his own name was a bold declaration of sovereignty. Bursa's capture marked the Ottoman shift from nomadic warriors to settled rulers. The city became the cradle of Ottoman culture and government. Osman was buried in Bursa, his tomb becoming a sacred site for future sultans. With a capital secured, the Ottomans were poised for even greater expansion. Bursa's fall signaled the birth of a true state, urban, organized, and ambitious. The empire's foundations were now unshakable. If Osman was the founder, Orhan was the architect of empire. He knew that lasting power required more than warriors, it needed institutions. Orhan created a standing, paid army, the Yaya infantry and Muzalim cavalry, loyal directly to the Sultan. This professional force replaced unreliable tribal levies and centralized military power. Orhan also built a bureaucracy, appointing a grand vizier to oversee daily governance. Courts and judges enforced law across Ottoman lands, while trade and crafts flourished in Bursa. The state became more organized and efficient, able to govern diverse populations. Orhan's reforms transformed the Ottomans from a warlord's domain into a bureaucratic empire. These institutions would sustain the empire for centuries, outliving any single ruler. Orhan's legacy was the engine of Ottoman expansion, a system built to last. The machinery of empire was now in motion. For decades, the Ottomans were an Asian power, separated from Europe by the Dardanelles. The Balkans, fertile, wealthy, and divided, beckoned from across the strait. The opportunity came when the Byzantine Empire, torn by civil war, invited Ottoman warriors as mercenaries. Orhan sealed the alliance by marrying the Byzantine emperor's daughter, but the Ottomans had bigger ambitions. In 1354, a massive earthquake destroyed the walls of Gallipoli, a key fortress on the European side. Orhan's son, Suleiman Pasha, seized the undefended city, establishing the Ottomans' first permanent foothold in Europe. The Byzantines were stunned. Their allies had become occupiers. From Gallipoli, the Ottomans launched raids and conquests deeper into the Balkans. The gate to Europe was now open, and the Ottomans poured through. This move changed history, setting the stage for the conquest of Serbia, Bulgaria, and eventually Constantinople. The Ottomans were no longer just a regional power. They were now a rising world empire. The crossing into Europe marked the dawn of a new era. The empire's reach was expanding, reshaping two continents. In just a few generations, the Ottomans rose from obscurity to the brink of greatness. Osman's vision and Orhan's reforms turned a tribe into an empire. The capture of Bursa gave them a capital. The creation of a professional army and bureaucracy gave them staying power. The crossing into Europe was the final leap, transforming the Ottomans into a world power. These early moves, uniting the Ghazis, building a state and seizing Gallipoli, set the stage for centuries of dominance. The Ottoman story is a testament to visionary leadership and the ability to seize opportunity. From humble beginnings, they built an empire that would shape the destinies of Europe and the Middle East. The Kai tribe's search for a home had become the foundation of a global power. The sun was rising on the Ottoman age. Their legacy was just beginning. The Ottomans, once a rising power in Anatolia, longed to cross into Europe and seize the heart of the old Roman Empire. The Byzantine Empire, weakened and clinging to its last strongholds, stood in their way across the Dardanelles. In 1354, fate intervened. A massive earthquake shattered the Byzantine fortresses on the Gallipoli Peninsula. The Ottomans, led by Suleiman Pasha, seized the moment, crossing the strait and occupying the ruined forts. They rebuilt the walls, not as mercenaries, but as permanent settlers. When the Byzantines demanded their departure, the Ottomans claimed divine providence had opened the gates. This was no mere raid, it was a strategic occupation and a turning point. With Gallipoli secured, the Ottomans had a foothold in Europe. From this base, they could launch campaigns deeper into the Balkans, no longer dependent on ships or permission to cross. The capture of Gallipoli sent shockwaves through the region, a clear signal of Ottoman ambition. They were now a European power in the making. The small peninsula became the springboard for centuries of expansion. More troops, settlers, and administrators followed, planting roots in new soil. The dream of an empire spanning 2 continents was set in motion by a crumbling wall and a prince's bold decision. With Gallipoli as their launchpad, the Ottomans faced a fractured Balkans. Serbs, Bulgarians, Albanians, and Greeks, all divided. Sultan Murad I exploited this disunity, conquering rivals one by one. His capture of Adrianople in 1363 was a major victory. He renamed it Edirne and made it his European capital. This move signaled the Ottomans' intent to stay and build a new center of power. From Edirne, Murad directed campaigns deeper into Europe. The Janissaries, elite infantry recruited from Christian boys, became the backbone of the Ottoman army, disciplined, loyal, and formidable. The Ottomans combined force and diplomacy, offering defeated rulers a choice, destruction, or vassalage. Many chose to submit, paying tribute and supplying troops. This policy allowed rapid expansion without direct rule over every village. The Ottomans absorbed territory and influence, steadily rising in power. Their military machine outclassed the feudal levies of the Balkan lords. The tide of Ottoman power swept across the region. Fragmented kingdoms fell, one after another. The Balkans, once a patchwork of rivals, began to fall under Ottoman sway. The empire's European ambitions were becoming reality. By 1389, the Ottomans had pushed deep into the Balkans. Serbian Prince Lazar rallied a coalition of Serbs, Bosnians, and Albanians for a final stand at Kosovo-Polja. Facing them was Sultan Murad I, commanding a formidable Ottoman force. The battle was brutal and chaotic. Initial Balkan successes soon faded. Serbian knight Miloš Obilić assassinated Murad in his tent, a daring act, but not enough to change the outcome. Murad's son Bayezid seized command, executed his brother Yaqub to secure succession, and launched a fierce counterattack. The coalition faltered. Prince Lazar was captured and executed. The Ottomans, despite losing their sultan, crushed the Balkan resistance. The defeat at Kosovo shattered hopes of stopping Ottoman expansion. The region's last major resistance was broken. Ottoman dominance in the Balkans was now assured. The path to further conquest lay open. The empire's momentum was unstoppable. Murad's death could have spelled disaster, but the Ottoman system endured. His son Bayezid I, known as the Thunderbolt, took swift, ruthless action, executing his brother to prevent civil war. This harsh tradition ensured stability and succession. Bayezid's leadership was marked by speed and aggression. He finished the conquest of Serbia, absorbed Bulgaria, and pushed to the Danube, even raiding into Central Europe. In Anatolia, he united rival Turkish principalities under his rule. Bayezid's campaigns expanded and centralized the empire more than ever before. His rapid movements left enemies reeling. The Ottomans became a true intercontinental empire, Murad's foundations enabled Bayezid's explosive growth. The empire's ambitions soared under the thunderbolt. Bayezid's reign was a whirlwind of conquest. He annexed Bulgaria, forced Wallachia into vassalage, and terrified Europe. In response, King Sigismund of Hungary called for a crusade. In 1396, a massive European army besieged Nicopolis, confident of victory. Bayezid, abandoning his siege of Constantinople, marched with lightning speed to confront them. The Crusaders, disorganized and overconfident, fell into an Ottoman trap. The disciplined Ottoman army crushed the Crusaders. Thousands of nobles were captured. The victory at Nicopolis cemented Ottoman dominance in the Balkans. Bayezid's prestige soared. He was now the region's most powerful ruler. In Anatolia, he continued unifying Turkish lands. By 1400, his empire stretched from the Danube to the Euphrates. The Ottomans seemed poised to conquer Constantinople, but a new threat was rising in the east. As Bayezid reached his peak, a new menace emerged. Timur, the conqueror from Central Asia. Timur's empire spanned from Persia to India, built on ruthless conquest. Turkish princes ousted by Bayezid sought Timur's aid, while Bayezid harbored Timur's enemies. Insults and provocations escalated between the two rulers. Bayezid underestimated Timur, seeing him as just another warlord. In 1400, Timur invaded Anatolia with a massive battle-hardened army. Bayezid rushed east, abandoning his European ambitions. The two armies met near Ankara in July 1402. Bayezid made critical errors, allowing Timur to choose the battlefield. Timur's engineers diverted water, leaving the Ottomans exhausted. The stage was set for a catastrophic showdown. The fate of the Ottoman Empire hung in the balance. Two titans prepared for a decisive clash. The Battle of Ankara was a disaster for the Ottomans. Timur's strategy and the defection of Anatolian troops doomed Bayezid's army. Only the Janissaries and Serbian allies stood by Bayezid, but they were overwhelmed. Bayezid was captured, his humiliation legendary. The psychological blow to the Ottomans was immense. Bayezid died in captivity, his empire in ruins. Timur's forces ravaged Anatolia, restoring rival princes and shattering Ottoman unity. The empire, once poised for greatness, was reduced to fragments. The Balkan territories and a sliver of Anatolia remained. The Ottomans faced annihilation. Their survival was uncertain. Bayezid's defeat plunged the Ottomans into chaos. The interregnum, his sons, Suleiman, Isa, Musa, and Mehmed, fought a brutal civil war for control. The empire fractured, enemies seized the chance to reclaim lost lands, Balkan vassals broke free, Anatolian beyliks fought for dominance. Amid shifting alliances and betrayals, the Ottoman state nearly dissolved. Yet one brother, Mehmed Çelebi, proved the most cunning and resilient. He consolidated power in Amasya, defeated his rivals, and slowly rebuilt. The dream of empire flickered, but had not died. By 1413, Mehmed Çelebi emerged victorious, reuniting the Ottoman realm as Mehmed I. His reign was about restoration, not conquest. He saved the empire from collapse. Mehmed made peace with neighbors, rebuilt the state, and reabsorbed rebellious beyliks through diplomacy. When he died in 1421, he left a stable, unified empire to his son, Murad II. Murad strengthened the army and resumed expansion in the Balkans. The memory of the interregnum faded as the Ottomans regained power. The stage was set for the next chapter, one that would change history. Murad's son, Mehmed II, came to the throne young, ambitious, and brilliant. He was obsessed with a single goal, the conquest of Constantinople. For Mehmed II, taking the city was not just a dream, it was destiny.
In 1451, a new leader took the throne of the Ottoman Empire, Mehmed II, just 19 years old. Many European courts dismissed him as too young and inexperienced. But Mehmed was no ordinary ruler. He was brilliant, multilingual, and obsessed with a single goal: conquering Constantinople. This ambition had burned in him since childhood, fueled by the dream of generations of Ottoman sultans. For Mehmed, capturing the city was destiny, not just glory. He saw Constantinople as the key to transforming the Ottomans into a world empire. The city controlled vital trade routes and united the empire's European and Asian lands. Mehmed's focus was legendary. He spent his days with scholars, engineers, and generals, studying every detail of the city's defenses. He demanded answers. How could the walls be breached? What new technology could tip the balance? His advisors quickly realized this young sultan was not to be underestimated. Mehmed's ambition was strategic. He knew that controlling Constantinople meant controlling the crossroads of Europe and Asia. The city's capture would bring immense wealth and power to the Ottomans. Mehmed's will was iron, his mind always planning. He avoided the distractions of court life, dedicating himself entirely to his vision. The dream of taking Constantinople shaped every decision he made. Mehmed's determination set him apart from other rulers of his age. He was ready to risk everything to fulfill his destiny. The fate of empires would soon hinge on the resolve of this young sultan. The stage was set for one of history's greatest sieges. Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire, had stood for over 1,000 years as a symbol of power and faith. Its legendary wealth, grand churches like Hagia Sophia, and libraries made it a beacon of civilization. Built on a peninsula, the city was protected by water on 3 sides and the formidable Theodosian walls on the 4th. These double walls, moats and towers had repelled countless invaders for centuries. The people believed their city was invincible, blessed by God. But by Mehmed's time, the empire was reduced to little more than the city itself. The population had shrunk, buildings decayed, and the treasury was empty. Surrounded by the Ottomans, Constantinople's defenders were few but determined. Emperor Constantine V led a desperate defense, knowing the city's fall would end a millennium of Byzantine history. Despite their weakened state, the defenders trusted in their walls and their faith. The city's spirit remained unbroken, even as the threat grew. Constantinople's fate would soon be decided by siege and cannon. The world watched as the last bastion of Byzantium prepared for its final stand. The ancient city braced for the storm to come. Mehmed knew brute force alone wouldn't conquer Constantinople. His first move built Rumeli Hizara, a massive fortress on the Bosphorus, opposite an existing Ottoman stronghold. In just 4 months, thousands of workers completed the fortress, giving Mehmed control of the vital waterway. Now, no supplies or reinforcements could reach the city by sea. Mehmed's grip tightened. He was choking off Constantinople. But his greatest weapon was yet to come, the cannon. He hired Orban, a Hungarian engineer, to build a supercannon, the Basilic. This monstrous gun could fire a 1,200-pound stone ball over a mile, shattering walls once thought unbreakable. Dozens of other cannons followed, dragged for miles to the city's edge. Mehmed was betting everything on gunpowder and innovation. The age of siege warfare was about to change forever. The defenders faced a threat unlike any before. The countdown to the city's fall had begun. In April 1453, Mehmed's army, up to 200,000 strong, encircled Constantinople. Inside, only 7,000 defenders stood ready, led by Emperor Constantine V and the skilled Genoese commander Giustiniani. The Ottomans unleashed their cannons. The ground shook as stone balls smashed into the ancient walls. The basilic's thunder terrified the defenders, turning stone to rubble. Yet every night, Byzantines risked their lives to repair the breaches. Men, women, and children worked side by side, patching walls with whatever they could find. Giustiniani's leadership kept hope alive, directing defenses where the walls were weakest. The siege became a brutal routine, bombardment by day, frantic repairs by night. Supplies dwindled and morale was tested, but the defenders refused to yield. Mehmed's cannons battered the city, but the walls barely held. The Ottomans pressed relentlessly, knowing time was on their side. The defenders' courage was heroic, but exhaustion set in. The city's fate hung by a thread. The siege was a test of endurance, will, and ingenuity. Both sides braced for the decisive blow. The final act was approaching. While the land walls crumbled, Mehmed faced another challenge, the Golden Horn Harbour, blocked by a massive iron chain. Ottoman ships couldn't breach it, and the defenders held the sea walls. Mehmed's solution was audacious: move his fleet overland. He ordered a greased log road built behind Galata, and overnight 70 ships were hauled over the hill and launched into the harbour. At dawn, the defenders were stunned to see Ottoman warships inside their safe harbour. The city's defenders now had to split their forces, defending both land and sea walls. Mehmed's bold gamble had changed the siege's balance. The Byzantines were stretched to the breaking point. The Ottomans pressed their advantage, tightening the noose. Constantinople's last hopes faded as the enemy closed in from all sides. The end was near. After 50 days of siege, Constantinople was exhausted, supplies gone, walls shattered. Mehmed offered terms of surrender. Emperor Constantine X refused, vowing to die with his city. On May the 29th, Mehmed launched his final assault. Waves of attackers crashed against the battered walls, first irregulars, then Anatolian troops, then the elite Janissaries. The defenders fought desperately, but Giustiniani was wounded, and panic spread. At a critical moment, Ottomans found an unlocked gate, the Kirkeporta, and stormed inside. The Janissaries surged through the breaches, overwhelming the last resistance. Emperor Constantine was last seen fighting in the chaos, dying as his empire fell. The Byzantine Empire, after more than 1,000 years, was no more. The city was lost. The dream of Byzantium ended in blood and ruin. Mehmed's gamble had succeeded. Constantinople was his. The ancient walls, once thought unbreakable, had finally fallen. The world's greatest siege was over. A new era had begun. The city's fate was sealed. The Ottoman flag atop the city shattered all hope. Panic swept the defenders. The Janissaries flooded in. Emperor Constantine died fighting, his body lost to history. The Byzantine Empire ended after more than a millennium. For 3 days, the Ottomans looted the city as was custom. Treasures vanished, thousands were killed or enslaved. Mehmed entered the city as a conqueror, not a destroyer. He rode to Hagia Sophia, ordered its conversion to a mosque, and marked the city's transformation. Mehmed quickly restored order, ending the chaos. He envisioned Constantinople as the capital of a new, powerful empire. The fall of the city sent shockwaves through Europe. For the Ottomans, it was the dawn of a new era. Mehmed, now the conqueror, had fulfilled his destiny. The world had changed forever. The Middle Ages ended at the city's broken gates. Mehmed wasted no time rebuilding his new capital. He invited people from across his empire, Turks, Greeks, Armenians, Jews, to repopulate the city, offering homes and incentives. He repaired walls, built mosques, markets, and the Grand Bazaar, and commissioned the Topkapi Palace. Istanbul, as it became known, flourished under his rule. Mehmed was unusually tolerant for his era, allowing Christians and Jews to keep many places of worship. He welcomed persecuted communities, fostering a diverse, cosmopolitan society. Istanbul became a bridge between East and West, a center of trade, art, and science. The city's rebirth was swift and dramatic. Mehmed's vision made Istanbul the heart of a vast empire. The ancient city was transformed, not just conquered. A new chapter in world history had begun. The conquest of Constantinople launched the Ottoman Empire into its golden age. With Istanbul as its capital, the empire dominated trade between Europe and Asia, amassing immense wealth. Mehmed and his successors expanded the empire across 3 continents. Under Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, the Ottomans reached their peak, militarily, culturally, and artistically. Suleiman's armies threatened Europe. His navy ruled the Mediterranean, and Istanbul became the world's greatest city. The legacy of Mehmed's conquest was profound. The fall of Constantinople ended the Byzantine Empire and began a new era. Istanbul became a beacon of culture and power for centuries. The Ottoman Empire shaped world history until the 20th century. The young sultan's dream changed the world forever.
Picture Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, standing strong for over 1,000 years. Its legendary walls had repelled countless invaders, until 1453, when Mehmed II, the ambitious Ottoman Sultan, arrived with massive cannons. For weeks, the city resisted, but the Ottomans' firepower was overwhelming. The final assault was brutal. Ottoman soldiers stormed the city, and the last Byzantine emperor fell defending his throne. Mehmed II, now Mehmed the Conqueror, entered the city and claimed the Hagia Sophia, transforming it into a mosque, a symbol of a new era. Constantinople became Istanbul, the new Ottoman capital, perfectly positioned between Europe and Asia. Controlling vital trade routes, the Ottomans grew wealthy by taxing goods passing through their lands. This wealth fueled a powerful army and navy, laying the foundation for a global superpower. The fall of Constantinople shocked Europe. Christian kingdoms saw the Ottomans as a major threat. Many scholars and artists fled to Europe, bringing ancient Greek and Roman knowledge that helped spark the Renaissance. The end of Byzantium marked the rise of the Ottomans in a new chapter in world history. The city's transformation signaled the end of the old Roman world. Istanbul became a crossroads of culture, commerce, and power. The Ottomans' rise would reshape the balance between East and West. Their influence would soon be felt across continents. The conquest was not just a military victory, it was the dawn of a new age. The world would never be the same. The Ottoman legacy began here. 70 years later, Suleiman the Magnificent took the throne, determined to expand Ottoman power. He led his armies personally, capturing Belgrade in 1521 and crushing Hungary at the Battle of Mohacs. The Ottomans now controlled much of Central Europe, threatening Vienna itself. Suleiman also built a formidable navy under Admiral Barbarossa, dominating the Mediterranean and securing key islands and North African coasts. Naval victories protected trade and projected Ottoman strength far beyond Istanbul. In the east, Suleiman fought the Safavid Empire, capturing Baghdad and extending Ottoman rule into Mesopotamia. By the end of his reign, the empire spanned Europe, Asia, and Africa. The Ottomans became a true world power, feared and respected by all. Their lands stretched from Hungary to the Persian Gulf, and from North Africa to Arabia. Suleiman's ambition and leadership brought the empire to its greatest height. The Ottomans controlled vital trade routes and strategic cities. Their military and naval might were unmatched. Under Suleiman, the empire reached its golden age. The world watched as the Ottomans shaped the fate of 3 continents. Their legacy would endure for centuries. Suleiman wasn't just a conqueror, he was the lawgiver, creating a unified legal code for his diverse empire. His laws balanced Islamic principles with practical governance, ensuring stability across many peoples and faiths. The millet system allowed Christian and Jewish communities to govern themselves in personal matters, fostering peace and loyalty. Suleiman's reforms built a fairer, more organized society, strengthening the empire from within. He was also a great patron of the arts and architecture, commissioning Mimar Sinan to design iconic mosques and palaces. The Suleymaniye Mosque became a symbol of Ottoman power and beauty. Istanbul blossomed into a center of culture, learning, and art. Poetry, calligraphy, and ceramics flourished, blending Persian, Arab, and Turkish traditions. Suleiman himself was a poet, and his court became a hub of creativity. The arts reached new heights, rivaling the empire's military achievements. This cultural explosion defined the Ottoman Golden Age. The world saw not just a powerful empire, but a beacon of civilization. Suleiman's legacy was as much cultural as it was political. Suleiman's reign marked the Ottoman Golden Age, an era of power, wealth, and cultural brilliance. The government was highly organized, led by the Sultan and his capable ministers. Merit, not birth, determined advancement, making the bureaucracy efficient and strong. The Janissaries, elite soldiers loyal to the Sultan, formed the backbone of the feared Ottoman military. The navy controlled the Mediterranean, safeguarding trade and expanding influence. Istanbul thrived as a cosmopolitan hub, where people from across the world mingled in bustling markets. The empire's diversity fueled innovation and prosperity. Ottoman scholars advanced astronomy, medicine, and mathematics, building hospitals and observatories. The empire was a center of learning, even as Europe began its own scientific revolution. Military power, economic wealth, and cultural achievement defined this golden era. The Ottomans set a standard for governance and civilization. Their legacy would inspire generations to come. After Suleiman's death, the empire began a slow decline. Weak sultans and palace intrigue led to corruption and inefficiency. High offices were sold, and officials prioritized personal gain over public service. The janissaries, once elite, became corrupt and meddled in politics. Meanwhile, Europe surged ahead with new technologies and global trade routes, bypassing Ottoman lands. The empire's wealth dwindled as trade shifted away from its control. Attempts at reform were blocked by powerful groups clinging to the old ways. The Ottomans fell behind militarily and economically. Internal unrest and rebellion grew as overtaxed provinces suffered. The balance of power shifted to Europe, and the empire's influence waned. Efforts to modernize met fierce resistance. The cracks widened, threatening the empire's survival. The once mighty Ottomans struggled to keep pace with a changing world. Their golden age faded into memory. The seeds of decline had been sown. By the 1800s, the Ottoman Empire was shrinking, losing wars and territory to Russia, Austria, and nationalist uprisings. Greece and other Balkan nations fought for independence, fueled by the rise of nationalism. European powers called the Ottomans the sick men of Europe, waiting to divide its lands. Britain and France intervened, sometimes helping, sometimes taking territory for themselves. Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt slipped from Ottoman control. The Balkans became a powder keg of conflict and instability. The government struggled to hold on, but foreign interference and internal divisions weakened it further. The young Turks rose to power, pushing for modernization and Turkish nationalism. Their reforms alienated non-Turkish groups, increasing calls for independence. Instead of saving the empire, these changes hastened its collapse. The Ottoman state was losing both land and unity. The end was drawing near. In 1914, World War I erupted, and the Ottomans joined the Central Powers, hoping to regain lost glory. The war proved disastrous. The empire fought on multiple fronts and faced revolts at home. The British supported an Arab revolt, promising independence in exchange for rebellion against Ottoman rule. The Gallipoli campaign became legendary, with Ottoman forces under Mustafa Kemal repelling the Allies. Despite this victory, the empire was exhausted and defeated by 1918. Millions died. The economy collapsed, and Allied troops occupied Ottoman lands. The Arab provinces were lost forever. The government signed an armistice, marking the empire's effective end. The once great Ottoman state was about to be dismantled by the victors, and the Sultan's rule was powerless, and the empire's fate was sealed. 6 centuries of history were coming to a close. The world map was about to change forever. The Ottoman legacy would live on, but the empire itself was finished. The final chapter had arrived. A new era was about to begin. After World War I, the Allies planned to carve up Ottoman lands, leaving Turks with almost nothing. Mustafa Kemal, hero of Gallipoli, refused to accept defeat and led a nationalist movement from Ankara. Turkish forces fought a war of independence, driving out foreign armies and abolishing the Sultanate in 1922. The last Ottoman Sultan fled, ending 6 centuries of imperial rule. In 1923, the Treaty of Lausanne recognized the Republic of Turkey, with Mustafa Kemal, now Ataturk, as its first president. Ataturk launched sweeping reforms, adopting European laws, switching to the Latin alphabet, and granting women new rights. He aimed to build a modern, secular nation, breaking with the Ottoman past. Turks adopted surnames, and Ataturk became the father of the Turks. The old empire was gone, replaced by a new nation-state. Turkey emerged from the ashes of empire, determined to chart its own future. The transformation was radical and swift. A new identity was forged for the Turkish people. The legacy of the Ottomans lived on in a modern republic. The Ottoman Empire's legacy still shapes our world. Its control of trade routes pushed Europeans to explore, sparking the age of discovery. Ottoman architecture, art, and cuisine continue to inspire and delight people globally. The empire's millet system offered a unique model for governing diverse populations. Modern borders in the Balkans and Middle East trace back to Ottoman provinces, fueling ongoing conflicts and shaping identities. The empire's history is a lesson in the rise and fall of great powers. Its blend of tolerance and governance allowed cultures to flourish for centuries. The Ottomans bridged east and west, leaving a mark on civilization. Their story reminds us how empires shape, and are shaped by, the world. The Ottoman legacy endures in the cities, cultures, and histories of today.